drum, hit your whole body go crack. The baseline move, take it off of the mat. We rock vibes every time we feel boom, boom, back. Yeah, we got it like that. Kick drum, hit your whole body go crack. The baseline move, take it off of the mat.
Yeah, what's going on, people? It's your boy Jaydee dying. Oh, we are starting this week with some fire because there should be no more question marks about the quality, the future, or the health of this league because the next generation of superstars, they are here and creating their own legacies every day. In the last 7 days, we've had 2 historic Game 7s, seen 2 top seeds dumped out of their respective conferences, and now we know that the superstars from yesterday are now fully the superstars from today. So we enter the Final Four. There's no more excuses, and only the fittest will survive. So since we're down to the Final Four, let me bring in my big four, including myself, on this week's episode of Heat Check, because I've got the MVP frontrunner for the LNB, Le Mans South Forward, and probably his favorite title this week, Phoenix Suns superfan, Ovie Soko. Say no more. I got the point guard guru, 3-time NBA champion, and still quick to throw a quick dime and a throwback stat, VJ Armstrong. And say no more, because the hoop genius is here, the NBA analyst, the double M, and of course, the face of In the Paint, Mo Mooncey. What's good, my brothers?
You know the vibe.
What's happening, people? Glad to be here. Glad to be back with you guys. So much exciting action around the NBA. Don't you think the NBA is a beautiful place right now? Don't you think the NBA is a beautiful place? You know, Devin Booker over there doing great things. Giannis finally got to the conference championships. Trae Young staying ice cold, and obviously, you know, pointing out Ben Simmons' sort of meltdown. And then over in the West, you know, the Suns obviously leading the charge. And the Clippers, you know, they're hanging in there with us right now. But it's a great time. It's a great time to be an NBA fan. And, you know, I'm happy to be here with you guys. I'm happy.
See, I like that. I like that. VJ, what's good?
Oh, I got nothing. Ovie, I'm calling him Son today because he's shining like one. I'm just calling him Son today because he's shining right now. No discussions here.
Oh, and Mo, I've been waiting for this one, and I know you've been waiting for this one for a long, long time.
Hey, listen. The fans at home have all been waiting for this episode. They want to hear it. And I know how Ovie couldn't even get through 1 minute of the intro without saying Ben Simmons had a meltdown. So I know this episode is about to be flamed. So let's get cracking, Jaydee. Let's get cracking. No more waiting.
Before we dive into Ben Simmons, Devin Booker, and everybody else that's been going on in the NBA and the playoffs, let's discuss some of the other things that's happening around the league. You know we have to bring you up to date with the latest news. And Brad Stevens has taken his first major step as, I would say, the president of basketball operations of the Boston Celtics. And what a way to introduce yourself. The Boston Celtics have traded all-star point guard Dikembe Walker, the 16th pick in this year's NBA draft, and a 2025 second-round selection to the OKC Thunder for Al Horford, Moses Brown, and a 2023 second-round pick. BJ, there's a lot to digest here, but Brad Stevens has introduced himself as the president of operations with a big move. What's your reaction to the trade?
Well, I think it's interesting to see that they're bringing back, in particular, Al Horford. You know, so clearly there was some dissension or something going on there between Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens. You know, what I thought was interesting about it when they made this trade, you know, no matter who won the trade or who didn't win the trade, is that they're making moves and they don't currently have a head coach. So that makes me think, well, how are they going to play? What's their style of play? What does that coach need? So I'm a little concerned and more confused about how are they making trades without a head coach. So it seems a little awkward to me at this particular time. But however, this is the NBA. Moves are being made, but we don't even know the style. We don't know how they're going to play and what that coach feels he or she's going to need to be successful for the upcoming season.
Ovie, this is such a significant move by Brad Stevens to bring, I mean, what a change at the start of your tenure. Moving on from a player who's so well liked, especially amongst the Celtics fans, but he did have a max contract for the next 2 years. I just want to get your reaction to what the Celtics have done here in terms of bringing in Al Horford and, of course, trading away Dikembe Walker.
Well, I think for me personally, it shows me two separate things. One, that, you know, we're going to see things done very differently with Boston moving forward than I think we might have seen or we might be accustomed to seeing from GMs around the league, and that's because we're looking at someone who's just stepping into this role. That's coming from a head coach position, was very successful in that position. So it's going to be a very interesting dynamic moving forward. But also I think it's going to be interesting to see how whichever coach that comes in works with the pieces that they're moving around, because it still seems to me a little bit that Brad Stevens might still be thinking through the lens of a coach slightly. And I don't know whether that could be problematic moving forward with the coach who comes in, because at the end of the day, I think we've discussed it before, there's two different kind of approaches from that role in the front office, and it could be very hands-on. And then, you could also take a very laid back approach. So it'll be interesting to see how they do sort of navigate moving forward.
Mo, I haven't texted you all week in regards to this because I wanted to hear your initial reaction here live on the Heat Check. I really wanted to hear it because I'm just going to quote Brad Stevens now. Every move that I make is to maximize the talents that we have right now in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Does this move strike that for you, and does it make the Celtics better long term?
Before I dive into the basketball side and analyze how that's going to impact them on the court, the first thing, Jaydee, you guys know the phrase, the vibes when I say secure the bag. And this one is a big bag secure move for the Boston Celtics. Al Horford and Kemba Walker, neither of them have great contracts in terms of, if you look at their age and their production in terms of what they bring. Kemba Walker's making around like 36, 37 million per season for the rest of his contract. Al Horford's making about 6 to 8 million less. The biggest difference here is in the final year of that contract, Al Horford's only guaranteed 14 million, whereas Kemba Walker is guaranteed 37 million. So when you're looking at it through a long-term perspective, this is a good move financially. Add to the fact that now it gives them the flexibility this summer to re-sign Evan Fournier and then have that full mid-level exception that they can go and get one more piece to add to their bench. Now, looking at it from a basketball perspective, when you look at this Boston Celtics, and in particular Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who are the centerpieces of this franchise, they are wings, but they handle the ball an awful lot. They're the primary playmakers. If you watch the Celtics games, most possessions, the ball starts and ends in the hands of either Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Having a player like Kemba Walker on the court, his talents, I feel, will be underutilized because Kemba Walker also needs the ball in his hands to be effective. You're going to run a very screen roll heavy offense with a guy like Kemba. He's going to get a lot of pull-ups. He's going to distribute for his teammates. But with guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, you don't need that. So essentially, Kemba Walker was turned into almost a spot-up shooter at sometimes. And obviously, defensively, he's not the greatest defender in the league, although he does a great job of taking charges and whatnot. But you got to look at it like this. Al Horford has been at the Celtics before, and when Al Horford was on the Celtics at the same time as Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they had an unparalleled level of success. When those guys were young, 19, 20 years old, Al Horford was on that team. They went to the conference finals. He knows how to play with these guys. What he offers and what the Celtics have been lacking since Daniel Tice got traded is a big man who can space the floor. Because as great as the Time Lord is, he struggles with injury, and Tristan Thompson ain't spacing no floor. So we've got now a big who can space the floor, give these guys room to operate, and, be a veteran presence, because you are losing Kemba Walker, who is kind of the elder statesman of the team. Al Horford's coming in. He's going to kind of try and steady the ship a little bit and try and really help bring out the best in Tatum and Brown, because that's what you need to do as an organization. Now, the roster for the past couple of years weren't built around them. It was kind of built on the fly to react to the departures of Gordon Hayward and the departures of Kyrie Irving. Now, you're going to go out and you're going to try and maximize the talents of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and it works well with Al Horford. I don't know how much he's got left in the tank, but it's worth a try, because with Kemba Walker there, that's that 37 million stat right there. I can't see past that, was being underutilized.
Well, this is why we're going to call you a future GM in this league, because Brad Stevens actually concluded that same press conference by saying financial flexibility was exactly what he wanted to see. And it seems that you two are thinking on the same path in terms of that long-term vision. But speaking of vision, that should be exactly what Chris Paul's middle name should be, because as we now know, the status of the Phoenix Suns point guard remains unchanged. He's listed as out for Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals, which we'll bring, of course, here on Sky Sports tonight. We cannot wait. But Ovie, Chris Paul joined the team for a FaceTime call in the locker room after Game 1 victory, but he won't play tonight. We usually see with these positive tests, the absence will usually be around 2 to 3 weeks. I estimate that's about 3 or 4 games in this series. How big of a blow will that be for the Phoenix Suns, though?
Missing Chris Paul is a huge blow for the Phoenix Suns, regardless of whether we're still able to win games or not. You know, missing his presence is definitely clear, and I think the fact that we were able to win game one, the way we won game one, and the way the guys I think are playing at the moment, sort of with that collective mindset, I think you have to give more credit to all of the guys that chipped in a little bit extra, rather than say, you know, maybe we didn't miss Chris Paul quite as much because we still put it out. No, that's not the case. You know, Chris Paul has been the leader on that team all season. He'll continue to be the leader on that team. Clearly, like you saw with the FaceTime calls after the games, etc., you can see that he's the clear, you know, he's the guy that everyone always looks to for advice. They seek out help, and you know, that's one of the greatest qualities he brings. So yeah, we're gonna miss him, but hopefully we can continue to play the same way and pick up these W's, baby. Suns and folk.
Well, that's some good news. He's obviously demonstrating that he's symptom free, which is good news, and hopefully we can see him on the court soon. I mean, his Father's Day post was really funny, in fairness to him. But let's look forward, and we're talking about looking forward. Let's think about the summer action that we've got coming up, because I know even though the NBA finals are only around the corner, so are the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, and that's great news for all Olympic basketball fans. But I've got even better news for you. Now listen to this one. Take this in slowly, and Mo, I need to hear your reaction, because as much as we're going to enjoy the summer basketball, and I love it when Team USA come out, when I heard that KD and James Harden will potentially be committing to Team USA, it adds a complete different dynamic now. How excited are you to hear those two superstars wanting to get on the court this summer?
As a fan of basketball, I'm extremely excited to hear all of these guys that are involved in the Olympics. Having said that, as a fan of the NBA, I'm kind of concerned. You know, KD's just played an absurd amount of minutes in his playoff run in his first series coming off an Achilles injury. James Harden said he had a grade 2 hamstring tear or whatever was going on with him. He really looked like he shouldn't have been out on the court. And a bunch of the other guys that are on this roster, for me, looking at what the players have been through with this rush season with so many games, and before that, the bubble, and before that, all the chaos that was going on, for me, I really would have thought that these guys would have taken the opportunity to rest. However, I have to respect the competitive nature for these guys saying, listen, I need to go out there, I need to go get me my gold medal. So I believe these players will make the best decisions for themselves. I'm happy for them, and I'm excited. And, you know, I'm hoping we get some competitive games, because whilst the Team USA team is stacked, we are seeing a continued rise of international talent. We've got great teams, great players coming from all different corners of the world. So I'm excited to see the entire Olympic basketball tournament, and hopefully someone can give Team USA a good run for their money.
Just take this in.
I'm not gonna lie.
Kevin Durant and James Harden join in. Just think about the level of commitment.
I want to see KD score 50 or 60. I want to see them. One of them.
I need to see Melo. I need to see them bring back Melo on the roster. We all know Olympic Melo's a different beast.
Look, just think about some of the stars that's going to be in that Team USA team. Dame Lillard, Draymond Green, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, Bradley Beal. They've all committed already. So prayers up for us having to guard that team. I know it's going to be competitive, but you add KD and you add James Harden to that mix, Lord have mercy. Anyway, tonight is a huge day for the NBA, because it is the draft lottery night. And as you can see right now, BJ Armstrong is not in his usual attire. So to say that today is not an exaggeration from an important day, I think, BJ, you should tell us first of all where you are and why you're so excited to see some of these heavy hitters of the future.
Well, you know, every year, I come and, doing my job is at the pre-draft camp. So no exception right now, Jaydee, I'm in Chicago, I'm here, and I want to get a firsthand look, a first peek at these young men as they make their introduction into the NBA and make their first impression. And more importantly, be able to see what these scouts think of them, not only talking about the players, but the people. This is the first time you get a chance to really get a face-to-face with many of these players. And so I'm here in Chicago, just want to, do my work, be able to understand so that, that I can speak from firsthand experience more so than what I, sources say. So I'm here in Chicago at the pre-draft, and the lottery is this evening. So here we go.
Such a big night for us Orlando Magic fans. This is the night that we live for.
Oh, yeah, it's a big night.
This is your game 7, Jaydee. This is your game 7, baby.
Forget the finals. This is our game 7. Successful rebuilds are built tonight. Yeah? We need to see where those lot rebuilds are going to drop tonight. Yeah? May the prayers be with you. Yeah? But look, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of prayers going up for certain players in the league this week. And you know what time it is, because it's hot or not. We don't hold back here on the Heat Check. So strap in. Oh, yes. I just want to ask you lot straight, the viewers. Are we going to address the elephant in the room that we've known for the longest while? And I'm just going to say his name. Fundamentally, it needs to be said. Ben Simmons is unanimously, and rightfully so, should be the first team all defense. Good gracious. It's incredible to watch that guy facilitate, defend, rebound, do everything. But his lack of offensive development is starting to get to the stage where it's being called appalling. Now, I'm never, ever to call anybody out on this show. You know me as the host of this show, but I'm saying it right now. And Mo, I need you to take this in. The process is over, and Ben Simmons needs to be traded because this once generational talent is not going to change his game, and we've seen enough. So I'm declaring it, Mo. Ben Simmons' days in Philadelphia is a wrap.
Oh, Jaydee, you're coming right off the bat with the spicy takes. Listen, first of all, the process has been over since when they fired Sam Hinkie and they brought in Colangelo, and now they got Daryl Morey and all these different moves, right? But let's get to address the point of Ben Simmons, right? The only reason we're having this conversation is because they lost to the Atlanta Hawks, and in particular, they lost that game 7. That's why these conversations, because had they sailed through, we wouldn't be having this discussion. Let's break this down, because one thing that people are forgetting, what people love to do, what fans love to do, is blame one man when a team loses. But basketball, in its essence, is a team game, and it's bigger than just a team. It takes an entire organization. So let's look at that game 7. As badly as Ben Simmons played, we'll talk about him in a second, but there's a few people that need to be held accountable because they're flying under the radar, and they're not being held accountable for what they did in this game 7. I know Joel Embiid played with a torn meniscus, and he gave it his all, and I absolutely respect and commend that. He had 8 turnovers in this game. You maybe don't throw a couple of those turnovers, you're in a position to win. But even more so than that, Tobias Harris went 8 for 24 from the field. Remember, this is the guy they paid instead of Jimmy Butler. Went 8 for 24 from the field. And then you look at it from a team building perspective of, all right, cool, everyone's getting mad at Ben Simmons because he's not shooting. But Daryl Morey, the general manager, he had the chance to trade Ben Simmons all season long. There were talks of Ben Simmons being traded for James Harden. James Harden, who played for Daryl Morey back in Houston. Why didn't he pull the trigger? If this was going to be an issue, he's supposed to be the numbers guy. Why didn't he run the numbers? But the one person I want to speak about right now before we talk about Ben Simmons, and the one person that needs to be held accountable right now is Coach Doc Rivers. We spoke about him last year when the Clippers went crashing out. And we're going to speak about him again right now. Because Doc Rivers has now blown 3 3-1 leads. 1 2-0 lead. He's lost a game 7 at home 4 times in his coach career, 5 if you include the bubble. He's lost 4 straight game 7s, the longest streak in NBA history, and he's lost 29 series clinching games, which is also an NBA record. Now, I have a lot of respect for Doc Rivers. He was the coach that brought the championship to Boston back in 2008. But ever since then, we need to have a real conversation about what he's been doing, because the Clippers right now are flying, and they ain't looking like they were last year when he was in charge. Now, with all that being said, because I just want to point out to people, one person can't be to blamed for a team losing a playoff series, because the 76ers squad in game 4 blew an 18-point lead. You can't blame one person for that. In game 5, they blew a 26-point lead at home. You can't blame one person for that. And in game 7, they were outscored in the final 3 quarters, and they lost at home again. Bear in mind, over the last 2 years, they only lost 9 games in the whole last 2 years, and now they're coming to lose 3 against the Atlanta Hawks. So it's the whole team needs to be blamed. But let's talk about Ben Simmons, right? Let's talk about Ben Simmons, because I know you guys have been waiting. Ben Simmons, if I had to describe him in one word in this playoff series, it would be scared. He's scared to, first of all, shoot the basketball, but we all knew about that. You can't be surprised that he's not shooting a 3 and he's not shooting jump shots, because we all knew that's not his game. But now he looks scared to attack the bucket because he's scared of going to the free throw line. He doesn't want to get fouled, and you guys all know the play I'm talking about, where he had that dunk ready right there. He'd done the hard work, he'd done the spin move, and he gives up the dunk, and Matisse Thybulle gets fouled instead. He's looking terrified of going to the line. He finished game 7 with just 5 points. He finished the playoffs 25 from 73 from the free throw line. The worst rate in NBA postseason history. Okay. And then he disappeared when it counted most in crunch time. In 56 fourth quarter minutes across 7 games against the Atlanta Hawks, guess how many shots he took? He took 3 shots in 56 minutes. That's your point guard. That's your franchise player. That's your max contract guy right there. He's terrified. He's terrified. But the question I have is, why are we blaming Ben? Because coaches are there for a reason. The whole coaching staff, not just Doc Rivers, all his assistants too. Either you're going to take him out of the game, because 56 minutes in fourth quarters is a long sample size. Either you can take him out of the game, or you can adjust your offense. My question is this. I'm not mad at Ben Simmons for not shooting 3-pointers. I'm mad at him for not taking layups and dunks because he's scared of going to the free throw line. But why is he not developing a post-up game? Why are they not using him in screen roll action as the roll man rather than the ball handler? There's ways that you can utilize players that aren't good shooters. We've seen it done throughout NBA history. But the biggest criticism is this. You cannot be scared. In this league, you can't be scared of anything. You can't be scared of anyone. And you can't be scared of that free throw line. Because although Ben Simmons might not be making the free throws, you can't be afraid to take them. Shaquille O'Neal won championships shooting an awful percentage of the free throw line, because guess what? There's only so many times they can foul you. This is the playoffs where teams shorten their rotations. There's only so many times these guys are going to foul you. You just have to have the confidence to keep shooting. This is why I said when Giannis kept shooting those threes, I'm not mad at him continuing to shoot those threes, because at some point they will start dropping. If you refuse to shoot any shots, they're never going to drop. So Ben Simmons, as many flaws as he has in his game, he's a 24-year-old kid. He still has his whole NBA. He's got 10 years ahead of him. You can utilize Ben Simmons, even if he never develops a 3-point shot. He can still be an impactful player on both ends of the court. My question is, why are they not putting him in those positions to succeed? And my bigger question is this. What's really going on in Philadelphia? Because we're seeing this with Ben Simmons. We saw this with Markelle Fultz, who now is at the Orlando Magic. Jaydee, you guys know about this. He can shoot the 3-ball now. Suddenly, Markelle Fultz looks like he did in college again. So what's really going on in Philadelphia? They say it's always sunny, but I'm seeing thunderstorms and rain right there, right now.
Ovie, that's a good point. I mean, there's a lot of shortcomings that need to be
Welcome
exposed.
to the Mo Show, baby.
there were so many points. I couldn't.
There were so many points. There was so much.
I'm sorry. I see the American Council shouting about it. I had to give some analysis and break it down for real.
I've only got an hour. So I need to try and get every. Ovie, I know. I hear the passion. The passion is good. But Ovie, look, the shortcomings in this series have been exposed. In terms of the shortcomings in the playoff series especially, has been exposed, and he's becoming a liability down the crunch time. That can't be your max player, especially when you're owed $140 million over the next 4 years. That can't be the future of your franchise. So I'm asking you, how does a player go from shooting 70% in his rookie year from the line to shooting 34% in a playoff series, which you've been building up towards?
Well, it's clearly the mental aspect of the game, to keep it sweet. It's pretty much what Mo has said is whatever's happened over the course of time. I feel like there's relationships that are broken down between Ben Simmons maybe and some of his teammates. That's what because I feel like there's stuff that is cropped up time and time again behind the scenes, and then the shooting thing has just continuously kept on rearing its head. So I think it's just time. It's the best thing for the team. I think it's the best thing for Ben Simmons to get a fresh start for his for a new frame of mind. All of that. I think we saw a similar deal with Zoe when he moved and got a fresh start. I think that was good for him, and we've seen him slowly improve. So yeah, man, I think the fresh start will be good for Ben. I don't think we need to necessarily say he's not a great player, etc. Clearly a great player, just needs a new start.
BJ, the process is officially over. I know everybody else is being nice about it, but they need to trade Ben Simmons. I listen to Doc Rivers. I watch a lot of these coaches post-match interviews, and listening to his closeout interview, when they ask you, is your starting point guard a championship caliber point guard? And your response is, I don't know. That answer speaks a lot louder than actually answering the question. BJ, I'm telling you now, this process is done. Do you agree?
Well, no, I don't agree. I don't agree, and I'm not going to buy into this. And here's why I don't agree. It's because of the following. Okay, let's go back to this young man and all of the criticism that he has had over the last 24 to 48 hours. Okay, now I'm here in Chicago, and I speak, and I feel like I have an unfair advantage over most of my constituents or people in this business because I get an opportunity to speak. I get an opportunity to speak and meet with the executives and the scouts, presidents, owners of these franchises. I've never met one scout or the people that I'm speaking with or one owner who said that Ben Simmons can shoot. Now, this kid has been in the league, 5 or 6 years now or somewhere around there. We've all seen him play from Australia to LSU to now. And then suddenly, yesterday, we had an type of moment where everyone said, he can't shoot. Now, wait a minute. Okay, I'm here in Chicago right now. I'm not waiting 5 years to figure out that someone can't shoot, okay? Now, we are in this generation of analytics, and we play a certain way. We're all 30 teams now literally play the same way. They shoot layups, and they shoot threes. Okay, they call that he has a clean slate, the way we like to play. We shoot layups or we shoot threes. Now, all of a sudden, they built this team, the process, however you want to call it, the analytical way or whatever it is, but when you build a team with that in mind, suddenly you realize if you're coaching or you're an executive, there are people behind that uniform. And I got to coach those people. Okay. Now, the weird thing about all of this is suddenly now we just want to trade him and just say, we're going to cast him off. And then we're just going to bring someone else in as if the other 29 teams are saying, yeah, we'll take Ben. We don't know he can't shoot it either. This is what's like, to me, it's like, okay, what are we talking about here? So I'm saying this. It's easy to trade a player. It's easy to fire a coach, but it's very difficult to replace those people. You just don't replace Ben Simmons' talent. You just don't replace it. Now, the thing is, if you're looking at it from what it is, here's the following, okay? Because now let's get done with the analytics now, because yes, analytically, he tests off the chart. He's 6'10", he's tall, he's got length, he can run, he can jump, he can do all those things. But now let's look at the basketball. Let's talk about roster construction. Okay, Doc Rivers had nothing to do with the constructing of this roster. Doc Rivers had nothing about putting this team together. Doc Rivers comes in, gets this team to play, and they are the best regular season team with the way this team is currently constructed. They don't have a guard who can play downhill, and they don't even have a guard who can play screen roll. And they still, in spite of all those things, they are the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. And now we're taking a 6'10" guy. I don't know anyone that can play in this league today that can play and can't shoot at the point guard position, can't get to the mid-range at the point guard position, and can't play screen roll at the point guard position. Now, I don't know what league y'all watching or what league these other people are talking about or what all these people on these other shows. I'm not buying this one. Now, I've watched Ben Simmons play. He can do something on this floor. He can do something. But the league that I'm watching, okay, I'm going to sit in the background and say, okay, teach me something then, because I've never seen a player play in the league at that position who can't do either one of those things I just talked about. So, all right, we can blame Doc Rivers. If you want to blame Doc Rivers, if that's the easy one for you, that's fine. If you want to blame Ben Simmons, all of a sudden he can't do this, that's fine. But to all of us who've been watching Ben Simmons for years, and today, 5 years from today, when they say players can't shoot or player can't do this, I'm going to be like, okay, I see y'all in Chicago. How can y'all say it now? Y'all can't say this. So I'm going to say this real quick. I don't think they should trade Ben Simmons, and here's why. Ben Simmons has to answer one question that every single player. Ovie had to answer it. I had to answer it. Jaydee had to answer it. Mo has to answer it. Do I have permission to tell you the truth? And whatever your response is to that question will determine your future. Ben Simmons, Do I have the permission? That's the most empowering thing to any player. This isn't a confidence issue with Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is never going to be a shooter. Facts. Ever. He's never going to be a shooter. But do I have permission to tell you the truth? And however he answers that question will determine his productivity in this league. Because every player, if you're going to be successful on a team, you got to be coached. That's big facts, as they say. That's big facts. Now, let him answer that question this summer, not with his words, but by his actions and his behavior. And then from there, let's move forward. Because if he doesn't want to be coached, there you go. You got it. If he does want to be coached, man, I'm working with something. I'm working with something. I'm working with something.
That's a mic drop. That's a mic drop. That's a mic drop. You know why? But Ovie, because I got something for you. Because I want to move on real quick and I want to switch coasts. And obviously, I said it earlier, Chris Paul, we know, is out of game 2 tonight because of health and safety protocols after a positive COVID test. But Ovie, this one is for you. And ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you Devin Armani Booker, because he posted his first career triple-double, and he did it in the biggest of occasions, a 40-point triple-double in game 1 to outlast the LA Clippers. Ovie, inside, outside, mismatches, doubles. It doesn't matter how they mark D-Book. I'm making this very clear. I've seen enough in this series already to tell me the Clippers will not be able to stop him.
Yeah, no team in the NBA can stop Devin Booker from scoring. That's not possible. But at the same time, I genuinely don't feel like that's even news. To say that, okay, you can't stop Book. Well, Book is one of those very rare scorers that come very few every generation. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so they're definitely not going to be able to stop him. It's just now Booker is able to play a winning style of basketball, and they're not able to stop him from, putting up 40 points. Book's been able to put up a 40 ball since he's walked in the league, but, now he's making his whole team effective. It's a more effective style of playing. It's a style of playing that involves his teammates. I think he had 11 assists the other day. I'm not sure, but he's playing just the right way, terrific basketball, and I think it's extremely fun to play with a guy like that. It gives the guys around him more confidence. They know that they have a guy that they can always go to at the end of games, that, he's never going to shy away from the big shot. We've seen him, and I think we can all agree he's growing into that type of young player. And I definitely see some Kobe-esque qualities in his approach to the game and the way he can, his mindset, the way he seems to lock in, and, it seems like he's in a killer zone. There's very few guys in today's game and in today, the way everyone plays, that have that kind of approach and mindset towards the game. So I think it's something that we should all definitely approach. And to sum up, there's no way that they're going to stop Book. He dropped 70 on the best. He dropped 70 on the best defender in the NBA. Of course, what do you think the Clippers are going to do? He dropped 70.
I didn't see that game.
Marcus Smart. That boy over there in Boston. You know that Boston kid. Kid. That kid over there in Boston.
I remember from that game is a big fat L held to Devin Booker after that one. So I'm glad that he's found out a way that he can score less than 70 and still win the game. I'm happy for him. I'm happy. Listen,
all I'm saying
let me tell you one thing about.
Make sure Boston can learn something, because they're still in the playoffs. So make sure you guys are taking notes this year. Come back stronger next year, and
Let me tell you one thing about scorers in the NBA. No one stops them. Whether it's Devin Booker, whether it's Kevin Durant, whether it's Jason Tatum, whether it's Stephen Curry, you don't stop these guys. The only chance you have of stopping these guys is hoping they have a bad shooting night, like Trae did in Game 7. They didn't stop Trae Young. He just missed open shots. So the only thing you can do is attempt to slow them down. So you got to look at it like this. If the Clippers want to be successful in this series, here's the game plan they need to go out with Devin Booker. We know Book's going to be able to get to that mid-range to create his shots. We know Book's going to be able to pull up from three. We know Book's going to be able to get inside, and he's going to make plays for his teammates. He's a fantastic offensive talent. But on the other side of the ball, they need to make sure they're involving Devin Booker in every action on defense to get him tired. So his legs are tired, so his shots start falling short towards the end of the game. They've got to really, they started the first game, in the first quarter, they were using those mismatches on Devin Booker and going at him. They went away from that. They need to go back to that and attack him on the defensive end, make him work every single possession he's out there. And then I want to look at it like this. PJ Tucker did an excellent job in the series against the Brooklyn Nets guarding Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant still came out and averaged over 30 points. Okay, he didn't stop Kevin Durant. But what he did do is he stopped Kevin Durant from averaging 40 points or maybe even more because of the way he played him. If you go back and watch that series, he did a great job when Kevin Durant was off the ball at denying him the catch because Devin Booker can't score the basketball if he doesn't have the basketball. So you've got to look at Devin Booker, especially when CP comes back into the lineup. The Suns do a great job of finding ways to get him easy looks off the ball. You have to take those away from him and you have to make him work hard for his shots. You have to say, we're not going to give you those easy opportunities off the catch. We're going to deny you on defense and we're going to find a way to try and slow you down. We know you're probably going to go out and score 30 every game this series. You can do that. You're an elite scorer in this league. But if we can stop you from maybe scoring 5 extra buckets, that can be the difference in winning and losing the game. So great scorers in this league are inevitable. All you can do is slow them down as best as you can and hope that they have a bad night. But on the other side, you got to make him work on defense. That's if I'm Ty Lue and the Clippers, that's what I'm looking at going into game 2.
BJ, let's not forget that. As Mo just said, he had a complete performance. Dished out 11 assists, 13 rebounds. This brother was doing everything. Let's just dive into the record books because I like this for a second. First Suns player to record a triple-double in the playoffs since, Steve Nash? And first 40-point triple-double since Charles Barkley. And you destroyed them boys back then. So come off the man, come off the hours, they say. And I don't see anything that the Clippers can do to stop Devin Booker when he's in his bag like this. This series is going to be his moment.
Yeah, he played terrific in game 1, and let's move on to game 2 now. I can't help but watch the game from a technical standpoint. All right, what I saw was the following. The Clippers went into a defensive scheme where they brought in Zubac, who I believe didn't even play in the first half. And then they brought Zubac in the second half. Now, the only play that I saw Coach Monty Williams run and Coach Ty Lue run was the following. We're going to put our 5 men or your 5 men in the screen roll, and we're going to see how you're going to defend it. Now, Ty Lue did this in the second half, and Paul George and company, they got cooking. That's how they got back in the game, right? Give Monty Williams credit because he ran one play as well where he put Devin Booker in the game. And what I was really surprised at was that Coach Ty Lue didn't change his defensive scheme at all. He didn't really double him. He didn't attack him like he was attacking the other guys. And they did a drop and give Devin Booker credit. He did the little snake dribble, whatever, and he got to the mid-range and he shot. But Coach Lue has options. I'm sure Coach Lue is going to do something. He began to defend him with smaller players, which I was like, okay, I don't know what the reasoning was, but let's see what he does on the defensive end. Now, I think it's going to be a different defensive schemes. I think he's going to throw something different. He did get some great contributions from Boogie at the 5. He did get some good contributions, I thought, from Zubac. But we can't forget, guys, he went small against Rudy Gobert. So I think he has some options available to him. Do I think he's going to stop Devin Booker? No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is let's figure out what they're going to take away. That's the key to playing in the playoffs. Let's take away something because Devin Booker got to all the spots he wanted to get to in game 1. And when you have an offensive player do that and start playing downhill, it's very, very tough to stop anybody, let alone a player with the skill set of Devin Booker.
I do have to say
something very special. It was something very special, and I just have to let the people know, of course, we have the rest of the games from this series coming up this week on Sky Sports. I mean, incredible. From tonight onwards, it's going to be something very special between these two teams. This is the best 2 teams out in the West right now, the Clippers versus the Suns. Tuesday night, Thursday night, and of course Saturday night. We've got it all here for you on Arena from 2 a.m. Game 2 to 4. Only live for you on Sky Sports. I like how you lot are ready to go though. I like how you lot are ready to go because I got something for you lot for the viewers take. Yeah, and this week, it's a little bit spicy. Yeah, I don't know if I can agree with it, but shout out to my boy Ethan each and every time for the tweet because I live for the controversial ones. And this one, for me, I don't even know how to describe it. Because Ethan wants Coach Budenholzer's head, regardless if Milwaukee win the chip. I want to say in my heart of hearts that Ethan is a Bucks fan that's had too much and has watched too much of Coach Bud over the last few years. But BJ, how do you react? Because the fans are asking for his head regardless. If you're honest with the chip this year.
You know what? That's too hot for me. I'm passing that to Mo. I'm passing that to Ovie. That's beyond me. I can't even. You know what? I'm going to be the point guard, and I'm gonna pass it. So I'm gonna pass this one and let those guys. I can't even go there. That would.
Hey,
that's
if I'm the true guard, let's
that's
feed the free. Hey, shoot. Hey, small forward. Mo Mooncey, step to the floor. I need to hear something right now.
Bro, like you guys know me. I've been leading the charge that Mike Budenholzer needs to be replaced. But if you win the championship, if you win the championship, why would you fire the? It makes no sense. I know. I want to go back and carry on talking about the Phoenix Suns. You can't fire a coach that wins the championship. Come on, man. Let's be realistic here. I criticize Budenholzer, but you can't fire the coach that wins the championship because that's just that makes no sense.
Let me distro to my 4. Hey, Ovie, what are you saying? Talk to me.
No.
Be fired regardless.
No. I mean. Definitely sounds like a angry Bucks fan, but you know that's when your value is at its highest. You know, when you win all the marbles, you know that's supposedly when you should be able to get any job, not getting fired. So that's my opinion.
I just saw a tweet. He's a Grizzlies fan. Shout out to Ethan.
I know. That's the worst thing about it. He's a Grizzly. I don't know. I need to go back into the record books and see what the Grizzlies did, what the Bucks did to the Grizzlies this year. Something has hurt Ethan's heart. Yeah, but Ethan, what I will say to you is you have a record this season because that might be the shortest hot take we've ever had on this show. So shout out to you, my guy, each and every time. And make sure you tweet in again next week because I liked it because it was controversial. But we have got the Eastern Conference Finals for you, of course, on Sky Sports this week as well. And like I said, Game 1 is ready to go. There's no more excuses. Wednesday night, we tip off. We're ready, 12:30. And of course, all week will be on Arena. The only time you need to circle is Friday night because it tips off at 1 o'clock. But all the other times will be 12:30 starts going into next week where we can do a special preview on the Heat Check ahead of Game 4. Whew. See the man right there, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I love him right now because obviously this is his moment to shine. 2-time MVP, former Defensive Player of the Year in this league. But off the court, we're going to talk about another former Defensive Player of the Year and probably the man that owns that award because when I go like this, it's time we dip into the OG series. So welcome to the OG series. And you know, earlier in the year when Draymond Green was declaring himself the best defensive player in NBA history, some laughed. Now, as much as you might have been some of those people that laughed, I can respect the energy. I can respect the self-confidence in your own ability. But it's time to educate, especially for some of the younger ballers watching, take in this history lesson. Because it's impossible to ever declare yourself the best to ever do something if you haven't witnessed some of the forefathers that have created this award. And there's a big man right now that comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo that has a big argument in terms of staking to say that he is the best ever defensive player to play in this league. So enter Dikembe Mutombo and take this in. I need people to really understand this. It isn't just a joint 4 records in terms of the 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. It isn't just a retirement of the infamous 55 jersey in both Atlanta and Denver or that iconic laugh. I need all my younger viewers to really understand this. Every time you see a modern player wagging his finger, whether it's a him or a her, understand that the OGs are the ones that paved the way.
Whilst the biggest icons in basketball history tend to be the ones who put points on the board, we do have to pay homage to those tasked with keeping them off it. And few did that job better than Dikembe Mutombo. Famous for his unbelievably prolific shot blocking, as well as the finger wag he'd often follow up with, Mutombo is one of the league's all-time great defensive centers. Hailing from the present-day Democratic Republic of the Congo, Mutombo originally headed to the United States to study medicine at Georgetown University. However, his 7'2" stature quickly caught the attention of Georgetown Hoyas coach John Thompson, and he was recruited to play in the NCAA. Over his 3 seasons playing college ball, Mutombo won 2 divisional Defensive Player of the Year awards, earning him a reputation as a fierce rim protector, as well as a lot of hype going into the 1991 NBA draft. Picked 4th by the Denver Nuggets, the 25-year-old Mutombo took no time adjusting to the NBA, averaging 16.6 points, 12.3 rebounds, and 3 blocks in his rookie year, earning himself his first All-Star nod. He also played a huge part in Denver's drastic defensive turnaround. The Nuggets went from the worst-rated defense in the previous season to the 13th in the league. Denver wouldn't be playoff ready until the 93-94 season, Mutombo's 3rd year, and a season in which he'd begin a 5-year streak of leading the league for total blocks. With their 42-40 record enough to make the 8th seed, the Nuggets faced the difficult prospect of the top-seeded Seattle Supersonics. When the best-of-5 series went 2 games in Seattle's favor, it looked like Denver were done. However, the franchise rallied to take the series, with Dikembe Mutombo averaging a monstrous 7.3 blocks and 14.7 rebounds over those 3 do-or-die games. The Nuggets' defiance made history, and it was the first time that an 8 seed had upset a 1 seed. The side nearly repeated their heroics in the next round, coming back from a 3-game deficit to draw level with the Utah Jazz, only to fall in Game 7. Now renowned for his shot swatting, Mutombo ended the following season as the Defensive Player of the Year. Unfortunately, that couldn't prevent the underpowered Nuggets from being swept by the Spurs in the first round, nor could it help them even make the playoffs the year after that. After failing to agree to a new contract with Denver, Mutombo signed a 5-year deal with the Atlanta Hawks ahead of the 1996-97 season. Individually, Mutombo continued to prove his defensive prowess over the next 4 seasons, picking up 2 more Defensive Player of the Year awards and finishing consistently in the top 4 for both blocks and boards per game. Sadly for the Hawks, however, these seasons never amounted to anything beyond second-round exits, and they even missed the playoffs entirely in the 1999-2000 campaign. With the NBA entering an era dominated by big men from the Western Conference, namely Shaquille O'Neal and Tim Duncan, Dikembe Mutombo would come to be seen by 2 Eastern contenders as a solution to a problem. Firstly, in February 2001, the top-seeded 76ers needed to replace injured center Theo Ratliff, so made a deal with Atlanta to bring Mutombo to Philly. Mutombo picked up his 4th Defensive Player of the Year award that season, adding another accolade to a Sixers side that also boasted the MVP in Allen Iverson, the 6th man in Aaron McKee, and the Coach of the Year in Larry Brown. Unsurprisingly, Philly made it out of the East that year, but unfortunately, their preparation proved futile against a Shaq and Kobe-led Lakers side. The following year, it was the New Jersey Nets' turn to get beat in the finals by the Lakers. Fresh from the humiliation of being swept, they acquired Mutombo in order to avoid the same fate should they get that far again. Sadly, however, injuries kept Mutombo out for much of the season and restricted his minutes when the Nets did indeed make the finals against San Antonio. In the end, this left the Nets without a proper answer to Tim Duncan, which eventually led to them losing in 6. Following an uneventful season with the Knicks, Mutombo eventually found his way onto the Houston Rockets, where he deputized Yao Ming until retiring in 2009 at the age of 42. Over 18 seasons in the NBA, Mutombo picked up 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, tied with Ben Wallace for the most ever. He made 6 all-defensive teams and sits 2nd all-time in blocks, just behind Hakeem Olajuwon. His blocks per game average of 4.5 from the 1995-96 season also marks the last time that anyone in the NBA averaged over 4 blocks for a season. A player who made his name on defense during an era famed for its offense, Dikembe Mutombo was enshrined into the Basketball Hall of Fame in 2015.
And rightfully so. 18 years in this league and still impacting the future of this league. BJ, we call you the point guard guru on this show for a reason, because you're a 3-time NBA champion. And of course, you played the better part of a decade in the NBA. I've seen you dribble, penetrate, and break down enough defenses. But you tell me, when you get into the lane and you see a guy like Mutombo in front of you waiting for you, what's that feeling like?
Where's Dikembe? Dikembe was a phenomenal player. He was a terrific defensive player. He had presence. And what I like most about him is he had a great spirit. I can hear his voice, it's this gruff, I can hear him talking, and he had fun when he was doing it. He made the game fun, In the locker room, guys, if I could tell a quick story, every time we would play against Dikembe Mutombo, guys would always say, who's going to dunk on him first? That was the biggest thing in the locker room. So he brought that type of energy. You knew he had presence there, and you knew he was going to try to block every shot on the defensive end. Great player, well-deserved, phenomenal career. But I'm telling you what, it wasn't fun for us little guards because, when you talk about stop and pop, well, he made me get in the gym and work on my stop and pop game because there was no way you're getting to the basket when you play against guys like him.
And since we're talking about legacies, I just want to shout out everybody because Ryan Mutombo is actually going to be playing at his father's alumni master in Georgetown. We will have a familiar face in Patrick Ewing, of course, coaching him. So look, I just want to see if the genes get passed on because if we get another Mutombo in this league, it's going to be classic time in the future. I'm just excited for the future. But talking about classic segments, let's bring back something we haven't seen in a while. And it's time we post it up. So you know what time it is. It's the final 4 teams that's left. And of course, this week on Sky Sports is going to be dominated by conference finals action from both coasts. I've seen the previews. I'll give you another preview of the timings just before we leave. But first of all, we need to talk about the poll. Because when we get down to the final 4, you know what time it is. We need to dive into these matchups. And I was interested to see what the viewers thought, first of all, in terms of out of these 4 teams that's left, who they felt was going to be the favourites going in. And it's interesting that, Ovie, there's a smile on your face right now because the people think that the Phoenix Suns are going to be the one to break down and win it all when it comes down to it. I don't know if that's Chris Paul's influence. I don't know if that's Devin Booker shining right now. But Ovie, you give me the breakdown. Let's handle the West first. The LA Clippers have beaten their demons. Twice already this season, they've been 2-0 down in the series and come back. They come against your Phoenix Suns, who are obviously relishing this opportunity right now in the playoffs. But how do you see this one playing out when it's all said and done? Who will be progressing to the NBA Finals?
The people, you smart, you special, you loyal. Suns, baby! hey, it wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right. But no, honestly, biases aside, I do think the Suns are a team that I think at this point, they're the favorites. They should be the favorites. I think they're the most confident team. They're playing the most team basketball at this point for me. And I think they'll be able to sustain this play. I think the dark horse is the Hawks. Because the Hawks are, like, every team they've played so far should have took care of them. So, it's very easy for us to say, okay, Giannis, Bucks, they should be able to take care of those guys. Well, yeah, so should have Ben Simmons and so should have the Knicks. So that's my dark horse. But Suns all the way, baby.
I'm gonna give you a little fun fact. You see my ice? It keeps growing. Every week that the Hawks seem to be adding a new body and progressing, I'm adding more ice to my neck. Yeah? Because I got the first chain in that ladder and we're going to keep pushing on from there. So hopefully my neck looks a little bit like Quavo's by the end of this and I'm feeling no ice tray. So Mo, give me the breakdown because they are the surprise package right now in the East. That dramatic 7-game series of beating the 76ers. But they now face the Milwaukee Bucks, who have been waiting for this opportunity. They've been building up to this opportunity. Where do you see this series being won and lost?
As great as Trae Young has been, and you're getting the ice tray, and he's got a signature shoe, and all of these things going on right now, I've got to give a lot of credit to the Atlanta role players, namely the secondary playmakers and ball handlers in Bogdan Bogdanovic and Kevin Huerter. Kevin Huerter, who came up clutch in that Game 7. Bogdanovic, who struggled a little bit in that series, but was huge against the New York Knicks. These guys are doing a great job of taking some of that pressure off of Trae Young. Because we all know teams are going to throw the double teams at him. Teams are going to pressure him. Teams are going to trap him high up the court off those screen roll actions. Those guys are doing a great job of not just standing around and being spot-up three-point shooters. They're dual penetrating as well, and they're making plays for the rest of the team. And then you look at the way that they've balanced this roster so nicely with John Collins at that dynamic 4 spot and then Clint Capella, the big body in the middle, who did a solid job against Joel Embiid. Even though Joel Embiid put on nice numbers, if they didn't have Clint Capella there, they wouldn't have progressed onto the finals. And then you look at the rest of the roster when you've got Ledman Pepperlou, who can come in and give you a spark of energy off the bench, and you've got Danilo Gallinari, who can shoot over almost anyone in this league. He's a veteran. He's been here and he's done it before. I like the roster. It's balanced. Trae Young's killer. in the clutch, he can get it done. Now, having said that, the Milwaukee Bucks, I think that Brooklyn series is the hardest series that they're going to have to go through. Even though they had some injuries on the Brooklyn side, that was one of the hardest things they had to go through. They're battle tested now. They've been through hell and back trying to get past Kevin Durant. And so I think they're ready. But honestly, I didn't even know we were doing this segment in today's show. It wasn't on the thing that they sent me before. So I wasn't ready to make a prediction. But I'm going to have to go with, I've seen the fans give the Suns 4.2%, the Hawks are 4.2%. I think the Hawks could shock the world.
Make me ask you, bro.
I think the Hawks could shock the world. Make me ask
you, bro.
Now, they could come, Milwaukee come out and prove me wrong. But I've not seen anything from Drew Holiday in that series to give me confidence. But having said that, this is going to be the first time that people are, because I don't think the Sixers were taking the Hawks seriously enough. And I think the Knicks, obviously, as great as their season was, they were only relying on Julius Randle and Derrick Rose. They didn't really have a balanced team, in my opinion, this season. So this is going to be the first true test for the Atlanta Hawks because Giannis is going to still shoot those shots. He's not going to be afraid to drive to the bucket. He doesn't care about getting to the free throw line. He will take his sweet time and let the fans count down those 10 seconds and those 12 seconds. And in fact, that helped him catch a rhythm against Brooklyn. Unlike the Philadelphia 76ers, the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis is not afraid to take those shots and be aggressive. So it's almost impossible for me to call. Right now, I'm saying the Hawks, but I'm not confident in my prediction. I just think that the Hawks have got something written in the stars for them this season. But like Ovie said before, I think the Suns are taking the championship home this year.
BJ, you heard the breakdown of both conferences. You heard Mo say that he's favoring the Hawks just slightly. You heard Ovie say with his whole chest that the Phoenix Suns will be progressing out of the West. You've seen the Final Four teams. I need the prediction from you right now. When it's all said and done, you got the hardest question. Who will be lifting? Who will be lifting Larry O.B. and who will be the champions when it's all said and done in July?
Well, that's a big question because this playoffs has really taken on a very unique perspective, right? But if you ask me right now, there are two teams right now. I would say three if Kawhi Leonard was playing because I thought the Clippers, perhaps Kawhi Leonard was playing as well as anybody in the NBA when you factor in both sides of the basketball before his injury. I thought he was playing terrific. So, but I'm going to say Phoenix in the West is going to come out of the Western Conference. I think they are playing terrific basketball, and that was a big-time win for them without Chris Paul. In the Eastern Conference, I'm going to go with Milwaukee. Milwaukee has hung in there somehow, some way. They've managed to really just continue to go through their journey, and their best player, he plays 100% of the time. And to me, that's always big. Now, this series, I'm a little concerned with for the Milwaukee Bucks from this standpoint. There's a natural tendency to have a letdown. That was a huge, huge series, the last series. Now everyone could possibly take a deep breath, and then Atlanta could slip right in there and before you know it. But I think this team is professional enough, and I love the matchup of Drew Holiday. Now, I think Drew Holiday he will wear Trae Young down. I think he's a little different on the defensive end. I don't think he's going to stop Trae. I don't think he's going to stop Trae Young. I'm not saying that, but I think he's going to wear him down, and I don't see a place for Trae Young to hide on the defensive end. That's the thing that's always been a concern for me is Trae Young, they're hiding him on the defensive end. I don't think he's going to be able to do that in this series. And that's, to me, is the difference. So I think Giannis, I don't see a matchup for him. I like Atlanta. Atlanta has been, give those guys credit. Give Nate McMillan, give Trae Young, Clint Capella, all those guys, Horder, all those guys credit. But I think the Milwaukee Bucks, in the end, I think that's the team for me. If you're asking and going in the series, I think that's the team for me that will win the whole thing. Just because I think Giannis is, I think he will be a major, major problem for anyone. And, but I would love to see Milwaukee versus Phoenix in the finals. I think those two are playing the best basketball in the Western Conference, respectively, and the Eastern Conference. And I think Milwaukee should win that probably in 6 or 7.
Whew, big prediction. You heard it here from BJ Armstrong first, and he knows all about winning championships. A real quick reminder, conference finals will be on Sky Sports all this week. You know where to find us, of course, but other coverage that we have, of course, across the basketball world will be the WNBA. And ignore that timing. I know it says 8 p.m., but please let me tell you now, it's 9 p.m. on Sky Sports Arena between Seattle and Vegas. And of course, we've got In the Paint, which is available for you on Snapchat with the Double M hosting it the most. Kings, look, I'm on cue, a complete hour. I love it. I know it's flown by. No doubt about it. Ben Simmons will come up again. We shall be back next week with you guys to break down more NBA action. Until then, stay glued to the Twitter page. And of course, the conference finals will be live on Sky this week. Stay blessed. Keep hooping, man. See you soon.
Sky Sports. Feel it all.